Oh, great. Hello, everyone, and welcome. We'll start with the adoption of the agenda. Can I have a motion? Seconded. Everyone in favor? Fantastic. Okay. Welcome to 2026. Thank you, St. Paul and St. Mary, for having us. Waivers. Seema Reddy for childcare, Louisa Craddock for illness, Andrew Ridgey for injury, Kevin Reevy for unexpected travel, Richard Ash for illness, and Miranda Goodwin Robb for illness. So we definitely have a lot of illness going around. Hopefully everyone stays healthy. Um, Two other items. We are currently in the interview stage. We are currently in the interview stage for district manager. A few of you asked me that, and we'll be having more in-person interviews next week. Happy to answer any other questions now or offline about that. And the public member application is on our website and is due January 15th. So feel free to make a application to be a public member. All right, that's it, unless anyone has any questions. No? Great. Jesse?
Hi, everyone. So I would like to start off by thanking the community, elected officials, agencies, bids, and local stakeholders for all the continued collaboration and support throughout 2025. As we move into 2026, I would also like to welcome the Manhattan newly appointed 29th Borough President, Brad Hoylman Siegel. In regards to the board, our office continues to actively advance projects and expand community engagement. And in regards to committees, I would like to encourage everyone to please visit our websites to see a lot of the work that's being done, see upcoming meetings, also access materials as well. And also there's sometimes links posted for comments and feedback, which is always helpful. I would also like to inform you that the Parks and Environment Committee will meet earlier, Monday, January 12th, instead of the 19th, due to the Martin Luther King holiday. And also in regards to the community, I just want to basically bring to your attention that a notice was sent that there will be a possible strike issued by the NYSN that may impact Mount Sinai Hospital, Mount Sinai Morningside, Mount Sinai West. Negotiations are ongoing, and we'll continue to receive communication in regards to as this progresses. That's all.
Thank you, Jesse. Kevin, you are online. Feel free to speak.
Good evening. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Great. Happy New Year, everyone. So, would have loved to have been there with you in person, but I'm stuck in San Juan, Puerto Rico. But we are in great financial shape starting the new calendar year. So, based on what we've spent to date, and then projecting out for the personal services line item, which is salaries for our staff, and assuming a new district manager starts February 1st, and also assuming a lump sum payment to our prior district manager for accrued PTO, we are projected to have a surplus at the end of the fiscal year, which ends June 30th, of a little over $18,000. In addition, as far as our OTPS line item goes, and these are expenses that are non-rental, non-salary expenses. Given the fact that we've had little to no HVAC or plumbing issues in the district office, we are projected to have a surplus of a little over $10,000 for the fiscal year ending June 30th, 2026. So we are in great shape, and that's all I have, and I'll open up for questions if anyone has any.
Any questions? Yes. Clary, wait. Maybe try that one, that mic. Yeah,
It's good.
yeah.
We talked about the surplus issue at some meeting a few months ago, and I think you told us that we can't carry it over. It's spend it or lose it. Is that right?
That is correct, Clary. It's use it or lose it.
Spend it or lose it. the surplus.
Exactly. Spend
Okay.
spend, use, or lose it. That's right.
So my question is, and it's not entirely to you, I guess it's to Alex and others as well. Do we have any, are we cooking up any plans to use it so we don't lose it?
Good question. Yes, we discussed this at steering, and with a few of you, I've already had some discussions about how we could put the funds to use. And again, what we stressed is we want to put the funds to use that have a measurable, actionable impact. And so we're open to ideas. So email me, or we'll be discussing it at the next steering meeting. But yes, we already have a few people who have come forward with some ideas about how to use the funds. Good question.
And we will keep you posted.
Okay, Nandita.
Hi, everyone. Happy New Year. A couple of tech and communication announcements. I know because I was sick last December, we weren't able to have the tech office hours. So we're having an extra office hour in January. These are optional, non-mandatory, but they're just open for anyone who wants to come and ask me questions about any Drive questions, Zoom questions, etc. So there's one on the weekend. The first one is Jan 11th from 2 to 3 p.m. And the second one is Jan 19th from 6 to 7 p.m. on a weekday evening. There's an email I sent out with the invite links as well. I will be updating that with some feedback to actually add it to your calendar. So it's easier to do that as well. So to repeat again, it's January 11th from 2 to 3 p.m. or January 19th from 6 to 7 p.m. They're both optional, non-mandatory. Another quick announcement, we do have an Instagram page. So for those of you who are on Instagram, please follow us at CB7 Manhattan. We'll be trying to make a more of an impact on posting and making awareness about our boards and our committee meetings and our full board meetings. So if you haven't followed us yet, please follow us at CB7 Manhattan, all lowercase. Thank you very much.
Okay, motion to approve the minutes from previous full board. Seconded. All in favor? Fantastic. Oh, yes. Okay, great. Clary will be abstaining. Noted. All right, we will now begin the community session. We'll start with the people in the room who have signed up online. Then I'll open it to anyone in the room who hasn't signed up. And if you are on the Zoom and want to speak, you can also raise your hand. And we'll start with Vudachai. Vudachai? Yes. Please approach this mic here. Yep, 2 minutes.
Good evening. My name is Vudachai Ngosuwan, the owner of Thai Market Restaurant, 960 Amsterdam Avenue. As a result of the building fire that broke out on December 9, 2025, the DOB issued a full vacate order to the building. Thai Market is now closed. There is no damage inside my restaurant except food spoilages. It should take approximately 2 months for professional cleanup and sanitization. After that, I should be ready to open business again if I am allowed. I would like to ask the MCB7 to help me in finding ways to open my business before the building finishes renovation, which may take up to 2 years. I don't think my business can wait that long. Thank you.
Thank you. Very sorry to hear about that. I don't know if we want to anything to address currently now, or if you want to do a plug for BCI.
Our BCI meeting is later on this month, and we're hoping to have representation from the Columbus Amsterdam bid. Then we hope you can make it. And then we'll discuss the impact of the fire on specific businesses, and it is on, I believe, it's the third Wednesday, which is the 21st. Yeah.
Yeah, the 21st.
Yeah. Then we can,
Oh,
yeah.
good point. Next Wednesday, the 14th, January 14th.
I'm sorry, the 14th.
Yeah. Great.
Okay, thank you.
Anything else, Matt?
No, just adding to what Natasha said, there are people on the committee that are familiar with these circumstances and will be able to give you as much advice as we possibly can.
Great. Next up, Peter Ardston. Is it a general or, okay, yeah.
The fire was devastating but the aftermath and not being able to get back into his space for 2 years is not untypical of the way things have happened. I mean, that building is going to be filled with rats, mice, and roaches and black mold because people are not able to clear out their apartments or get into commercial spaces. It's happened before in our neighborhood. And whatever the committee or the community board can do, Andrew Ridgey has already talked with Danny. That's how I know Danny, or from Time Market, but and offered his assistance. But whatever assistance can be given, trying to get buildings department and the insurance company to move quickly would be really helpful. Thank you very much. Happy New Year.
Okay, Rita Garcia. While we're waiting, we can go to Sue Peters.
Can you hear me clearly
Yes.
back there? Yeah, great. Thank you. Happy New Year, everybody. I'm glad to be back. My name is Sue Peters. I'm a resident. A French activist group called PhoneGate is spreading the word about the French government's obsolete regulations measuring radiation from cell phones. Their conclusion: no mobile phone is truly safe for your health. Compare this to the US Federal Communication Commission. In August 2021, the United States Court of Appeals ruled that the FCC had failed to provide a reasoned explanation for its decision not to update its 1996 radio frequency exposure guidelines, despite substantial evidence of potential health risk. The evidence: 1, studies suggesting that the radiation could cause health effects like DNA damage. 2, evidence showing potential greater susceptibility of children. 3, evidence whose possible impact on the environment. The conclusion of the court: the FCC's decision not to review or modify its 1996 guidelines was deemed capricious and arbitrary. The FCC has failed since 2021 to respond to the court's remand. Think of that. This is our government that's supposed to protect us. Please think really much about how much information is not being told to the mothers of infant babies who carry their cell phones with their baby. Please. Thank you.
Okay, we'll go to Jennifer Czar from St. Agnes Library.
Hi, good evening. Happy New Year. My name is Jennifer. This is my colleague Jahairo. We're just going to give you a few updates from the St. Agnes Library. So we're happy to announce that starting tomorrow, we'll be hosting an 8-week bilingual story time on Wednesdays at 10:30. So registration is on Monday at 11. All the information is on our website. It's a great program, so please help us spread the word about that. Also, just quickly, our next book sale will be Saturday, the 10th from 12 to 4. Thank you.
Hi, good evening. I'm Jahida Mejia from the Bloomingdale Library, and I just have one announcement. This year, Single Stop Tax Prep will be back again doing tax prep for the community. It will be done on Thursdays from 11 to 3 and Saturdays from 10 to 2, starting February 5th through April 11. And it will be by appointment, and the appointment they will open up on January 15th, and they just have to go online. You can email singlestoptaxbloomingdale@gmail.com to have the appointment link sent to them. And we will also have it live from the Bloomingdale website. There will be a link that they just can click, and then they can reserve an appointment to have their taxes done. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll go to Grace from Michael Lasher's office.
Hi, everybody. For those who have not met me before, I'm Grace. I'm Assemblymember Michael Lasher's Communications Director. Excited to just give you a few quick updates. Hope everyone had a happy holiday season and a new year. I want to take a moment to thank the West Side Campaign Against Hunger, which is actually just in this building right here, who we were able to partner with at the end of the year to deliver food to neighbors across NYCHA housing in the district to make sure that they had a warm, satisfying holiday meal. So thank you to WSCA. Tomorrow, Assemblymember Lasher is headed back up to Albany to kick off the 2026 legislative session. So if anyone has thoughts or ideas, please give us a call. We want to be in as much conversation as possible with the community as the legislative session gets started. While he hits the ground running up there, we're also hitting the ground running here in the district. I just want to highlight a few upcoming events that our office is hosting. On January 17th from 10 until 2 o'clock, we're hosting a textiles and e-waste recycling collection. That's at the Church of the Holy Name of Jesus, St. Gregory the Great, and that's in collaboration with the Department of Sanitation. So anything like old computers, keyboards, cell phones, clothing, towels, that sort of thing. We will be taking all of that to recycling. And then on January 23rd from 10 until 12 o'clock, we're hosting a senior tech support office hours at our district office. That's with the West Side Federation for Senior and Supportive Housing. And just as a reminder, our office is at 245 West 104th Street. So that's on Broadway and 104th. Please call so we can make appointments with anyone you know, any of your neighbors that might need any tech support. And our number is 212-866-3970. We love hearing from everybody, so keep the calls coming. Thanks so much.
Thank you. And next up will be Razi Siddiqui. Razi? If not, I see speak in favor. Let's go with Mariana from Lincoln Center.
Hi, everyone. I'm Community Board 7. My name is Mariana Braza. If I haven't met you already, I'm from Lincoln Center for the Performing Arts. Hope you all had a good holiday season and Happy New Year. A few recaps from the past month. It was a pleasure to work with partners across NYC Public Schools, the DOE, Girl Scout Troop 6000, older adult centers, NYCHA residents, and our local elected offices to serve 3,000 New Yorkers with free Big Apple Circus tickets. The Big Apple Circus has now wrapped up their season. We also joined the Amsterdam Houses Tenant Association, Public Housing Community Fund, Assembly Member Linda Rosenthal, and member of Hudson Guilt Amsterdam Center to unveil a new mural called Fairy Tale Fantasy, created by artist Laura Alvarez. That's in Amsterdam Houses. We also wrapped the season with our toy drive, where we delivered 450 toys to our NYCHA neighbors. And then over the past few months, we've been working with ArtBridge and artist Vanessa Alvarez to create a community visioning process for a temporary mural that will go up on the construction fencing when we start to break ground for the West Initiative on the west side of our campus. So thank you to those who attended the workshop. We had leaders from NYCHA, local youth programs, students from the MLK Junior Educational Campus, and more. We'll have a few more touch points. So we're looking forward to seeing that art come together that will be up during the entire construction process. In upcoming highlights, we have Youngest Artist Pipeline applications open until January 17th. It's a free arts training program for middle schoolers. And this month, we have lots going on at Lincoln Center Presents. That's all free or choose what you pay. So I have brochures at the front, and let me know if you have any questions. Thank you.
Thank you. We have a question. Oh, yes.
The mural project is amazing that they're planning, and for board members, I don't know if there's a way that you'll be able, at some point, I know you'll be sharing it, but the community session, I went to one a couple of weeks ago, and it was just amazing to see what it's gonna hopefully end up looking like, and it'll be a real blessing to the community. So thank you for that.
Thank you. We've also opened up the roll call. So if you want to do roll call now, that will help us speed up any questions or issues anyone has in the future. And we'll go to Julia Manza online.
Thank you so much, Alex. Hi, everybody. Happy New Year. Good to virtually see you. My name is Julie Manza. I supervise community engagement for the Manhattan District Attorney's Office. I have a few announcements tonight. The first, I want to read some language that was provided to me from our office about our gun violence prevention initiative. The Manhattan District Attorney's Office has released a request for proposals, RFP, for the summer 2026 Gun Violence Prevention Initiative. GVPI, Gun Violence Prevention Initiative, seeks community-based organizations to provide meaningful summer opportunities for youth. Interested applicants can access the full RFP and submission instructions online on our website. This RFP is open and competitive. Danny staff cannot respond to questions about the RFP. All inquiries must be submitted to bidsrfps@danny.nyc.gov, and responses will be shared through an official Q&A addendum. Proposals are due by January 27th at 2:59 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I highly encourage people to either look at this or send to community-based organizations who you think might be a good fit. I also wanted to read a community update for the new Support Act to strengthen mental health continuity. This was announced by the Manhattan District Attorney Alvin Bragg, now Borough President, former State Senator Brad Hoylman Siegel, and Assemblymember Tony Simone, about Governor Hochul signing the Support Act. This legislation addresses a critical gap in the justice system for individuals who are found unfit to stand trial due to serious mental illnesses. And we think through mandatory referrals, increased accountability, and a stable continuum of care, this act aims to reduce recidivism and help to stabilize vulnerable New Yorkers who are returning to our neighborhoods. Finally, briefly, we also had recently an indictment on a $100,000 rental scam of Jerry Genesis for allegedly defrauding at least 8 prospective tenants. We all know that housing is a major issue in every neighborhood, including the Upper West Side, and our Housing and Tenant Protection Unit, as well as our Financial Fraud Bureau, continues to bring cases and prosecute cases of those who are defrauding New Yorkers. This is 3 counts of grand larceny, 1 count of a scheme to defraud, and 1 count of bail jumping. But as always, all this information is on our website. Please feel free to reach out with any questions, and have a great rest of your meeting. Thanks so much.
Thank you. Vera, if you can unmute, you can go ahead. No, well, maybe that's in favor. Anyway, this is maybe is that on a particular issue? Okay, never mind. We'll come back to you in a second. Sorry about that. Hannah Wienerman.
Hi, everyone. I'm Hannah Wienerman from Congressman Jerry Nather's office. Congressman Nather condemned President Trump's action in Venezuela as they are completely illegal and unconstitutional. Congress has not authorized the president to conduct such a war in Venezuela, nor has it authorized a, quote, large-scale strike, as President Trump described it. This is a grave abuse of power that has put American troops in harm's way and threatens a wider conflict in the region, and is not to be taken lightly, nor without the consent of the American people as expressed by their representatives in Congress. He's urging Speaker Johnson to bring this matter to a vote before the Congress as soon as possible. With that note, from my understanding, flights have been resuming out of the Caribbean, but a lot of folks have been stranded there just because thousands of flights have been canceled. So if you know anyone that is still stranded there, one, have them contact their airline. Two, make sure they enroll in the STEP program, just in case there's any more updates in the region. It's always a great idea to enroll in the STEP program if you're going abroad. And the third is contact our office. As we get more information, we're happy to assist. Speaking of flying, as you may know, the Department of Transportation rolled back passenger protections passed under the previous administration, such as automatically sending passengers cash refunds from flight cancellations or delays of more than 3 hours caused by the airline. So Congressman Nadler, along with Senators Warren and Blumenthal, wrote to DOT's Office of Inspector General, urging him to conduct an investigation as to whether the DOT Secretary Sean Duffy's conflicts of interest as a former airline industry lobbyist have contributed to his department ending these passenger protection rules, and whether he has favored the airline industry. The last thing that I want to flag is in the wake of the horrific anti-Semitic attack at the Hanukkah celebration in Sydney last month, Congressman Nadler, along with Representatives DeLorio, Blint, and Frost, co-sponsored the Anti-Semitism Response and Prevention Act. This bill provides a comprehensive and principled framework to stem the tide of rising anti-Semitism in America, while simultaneously upholding and celebrating the progressive values without compromise or equivocation, which includes unnecessarily stifling legitimate speech and political criticism. Thanks so much. Let me know if you have any questions. Pleasure to be with you.
Thank you. We'll go to Mariella from the Manhattan Borough President's Office. I see you on Zoom. Maybe unmute. Able to unmute? We can also come back to you. And let's see, is there anyone else either on Zoom or here who would like to speak on an issue not on the agenda? So it's just a general public issue. Feel free to walk up to the microphone. Well, yours is a specific issue. We'll call you. Don't worry. Okay. Anyone more general? Yes, please come forward.
Hi, good evening. Happy New Year. My name is Ria Bonaro. I'm speaking on behalf of WP Theater. We are a nonprofit off-Broadway theater on the Upper West Side on 2162 Broadway. That's on the corner of 76th and Broadway. Just an update on some events we have coming up. Next Monday, January 12th, is the third and last of our free reading series called Feelin' Fresh Festival, where we showcase plays in development. That's completely free for you to just sign up on our website. We also have sponsorship from Orchard Hill Ciders, which is an Upper West Side owned cider company. And we have some treats for our guests. It's more for our community to join us and see some plays in development. We also have our spring main stage series opening up with previews starting January 31st. It's called The Waterfall. Written by Vanessa Farrell and directed by Taylor Reynolds. It is about a Haitian family, mother and daughter story, a coming of age of a young adult daughter and her mother that's aging. So please join us if you can. And we also wanted to say a special thank you to Gail Brewer, who joined us yesterday for our second reading series of the Feelin' Fresh Festival. She's a great support of WP and was a great friend of our founder, Julia Miles. So please join us. We're at www.wptheater, that's theater with ER.org. Thank you.
Great. Remember to do the roll call and raise your hand if you have any issues. And Mariella, I don't know if you want to say something.
Sure, thank you. Good evening.
We can't hear you. You're
CB7.
unmuted. Oh, there we go.
Ooh.
Sorry, go for it.
Oh, can you hear me now?
Yes, yes.
Okay, yes, wonderful. Thank you. Good evening, CB7. Very nice to meet you. My name is Marielle Ali, and I am the new Director of Community Affairs for the Manhattan Borough President's Office. I do know that the Borough President will be there shortly, and so I'll defer to the VP for remarks. As you can imagine, we're ready to hit the ground running. Please look out for more information for our community board applications later this month. I look forward to getting to know all of you. And you can please refer to and work with Sawaiba. She has my contact information. And again, really looking forward to working with all of you. Thank you for all you do.
Thank you. And we'll go to Erica and guest on Zoom.
Hi, yes, I have a guest with me. Sorry if you hear a little ducky thing in the back. But Erica Overton from Assemblymember Linda B. Rosenthal's office. My Deputy Chief of Staff is with me. And I'll be very quick. The Assembly member's First of the Nation law that would require insurance companies to cover the cost of scalp cooling, which is a hair preservation treatment for people who are undergoing chemotherapy, went into effect on January 1st. Yes, on January 1st. And so very excited about that. And then also the Assembly members legislation that would ban PFAS. PFAS in menstrual products was signed into law just in December by the governor. So very excited about that one as well. And then we are having a mammogram day ban on Friday from, I believe, 10 to 2. So if anybody, I think we have a few more slots. So if anybody is interested, they should call the district office and we'll set you up. But that's it from me.
Thank you. Sawaiba.
Good evening, CV7. It's so nice to see you all again. This is Sawaiba from the Manhattan Borough President's Office, who is now Brad Hoyleman Siegel. Yes, yes. Great. Thank you. So happy New Year, happy new Borough President. And as Marielle Ali announced that soon we'll be getting more information about the CB applications that'll open up. I'll be sure to update you all. And if you need any help in this transitionary period, just reach out to me at shabazz@manhattanbp.nyc.gov. And I can, of course, also share Marielle's information to be distributed to you all. And good evening, and Brad should be here soon. Thank you.
And a brief update from Mr. Fine.
Thank you. Good evening. I'm speaking as co-director of the Bloomingdale Inclusive Park and Playground, which was developed with this community board starting in 2015 and opened in 2019. It's on 104th and Amsterdam. And it's $7.1 million of inclusive equipment and happiness. Very soon, we're going to be resurrecting our gardening group. There are people here who were a part of it, but everyone will get the information on the website. And we're going to have a major event, including wheelchair basketball, because everything is usable by people of all abilities and disabilities, and other interesting and exciting events that everyone can participate, children and adults. Thank you.
Great. I think that's it for public session. Oh, one more. Okay, yes, please come up.
Well, good evening. Evelyn Collado. For those of you who don't remember me, I'm the Manhattan Borough Director for the New York City Comptroller's Office, who is now Mark Levine. So it's the same contact information. You can reach to me, ECOLLAD, comptroller.nyc.gov, and we'll be in touch. Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you. All right. Michael, how are we doing with the roll call? Anyone have any issues? 31. Everyone text yes if you are here. And this is how we make sure that we know that you're here. And we'll go to the one, Samantha, for 2 minutes. Last of the public session. You should be able to unmute.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Hi, my name's Heather, and I was just wondering how old do you have to be on the community board?
That's a great question. I think Sawaiba can answer it, but I believe there's no age limit. 14. 14 is the answer, and we look forward to your application.
Okay, got it. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, that's true. Also public member. Okay, I assume everyone has done the roll call. And we are now going to end the public session, and we're going to proceed with our business session. And first up is preservation. I'll come over. Maybe Jamie could hold the mic.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. Can you see? Oh, perfect. Great. You can see this. This last month, we had 2 applicants, and the first is 106 West 81st Street, which is the application to LPC for the landmarks preservation for a certificate of appropriateness to construct a rooftop addition and to modify the rear of the building. This applicant came to 2 meetings and was responsive to feedback and a need for additional information, and came at the most recent meeting in December. And here you can see for time's sake, you can see the front of the building, as well as the proposed building, as well as the proposed rooftop. The applicant did come and present images of a mock-up that they constructed on the roof. After feedback, they reconstructed the mock-up and prepared a proper setback so that the rooftop addition could not be viewed from the public thoroughfares by various angles. The committee visited the site. We discussed, and for a vote of 4-1, the rooftop addition was the application was confirmed. And here, this is the back of the building, and you can see the current condition of the building, and you can see 2 additional images of what the back of the building will look like with the additional floor. And the floor in the back, although it's 1 additional building, the rooftop in the front is set back enough where you can't see it from the public thoroughfare, and the back is in the courtyard and not viewable to the public. And
I guess we do.
we ask for your consideration for a vote of a resolution here. So therefore, be it resolved that Community Board 7 recommends approval of the application as appropriate to the structure and to the historic district. And in the December 11th meeting, we voted 4-1-0 in favor and then against. And if anyone wants to present further information about side.
And I'll take a shot at it. We have a very collegial committee, and I usually vote with the majority. But as it turns out, this time I didn't on 2, so you'll hear from me again in a few minutes. So there are 2 issues, one, a non-issue and an issue with a rear yard addition. A non-issue, when it can't be seen from a public way, makes it a non-issue. That's why we're much more interested in front facades, which are far more visible from public ways in terms of visibility. But there's a separate issue here regarding this proposal that is quite unusual, not what we normally approve, not what LPC normally approves, and that is with a rear yard, the issue, the idea is that whatever changes may be made, they shouldn't completely obliterate the notion that this was a historic, what's called row house, sometimes brownstone, although the materials may differ. And typically the rear material is brick, usually red. This is an unusual application in that it seeks to add a full width, I think it's 4th story, with no setback, or maybe it's a couple inches, but it reads as no setback. I think it's no setback from the bottom floors. It completely loses its history by that as a historic brownstone in one of our many beloved donuts, which is what we call the space in the rear, around the rear yards in our neighborhood and other neighborhoods. And so there's really limited or no precedent that I'm aware of on our committee for approving a full width top floor addition that erases the history of this building as a historic townhouse or brownstone or row house. And for that reason, I dissented.
Are there any further questions or additional discussion? Great. Yes.
And while everyone's voting, we've just learned that you have to be 16 years old to be on the community board, but I still think you should apply even if you're not 16, but that's the official word. Yeah, right. Yeah. Okay, get your votes in.
I think the youngest community board member ever, I think, was Scott Stringer. Just for those who are wondering about the history, if you go back.
This is this is unconfirmed. All right, I think we're there at 40 votes.
Yeah, so final vote here is 33-4-3-0 carries.
Okay, when the screen comes back up, this one is a legalization of unpermitted work at 254 West 88th Street. The nice thing about legalization of unpermitted work is that we know exactly what it's going to look like because the work has already been done. So it's easier for us now. Very bad that they did what they were not supposed to do. This is similar. This is the neighboring building to the building we voted on a couple months ago, which was also legalization of unpermitted work. So on the left-hand side, you can see the reconstruction of a commercial facade. And then on the right-hand side, you can see what they did to the back of the building. The one thing I will say about the rear of the building is that it is identical to the building that we voted to approve last year. So the right-hand side is exactly the same as what we voted on. The left-hand side is a different facade, and the committee voted 5-1 to legalize this existing work. And I believe Clary was the person who voted against it. So if you would like the opportunity, I will hand it over for a brief comment.
I'll be quick, but I do note I got a few votes on the last one, not enough to succeed, but I'll try again. So the problem here is a completely different issue for me. We have seen from time to time, it is not the worst, but it's by far from the best, where LPC approves some plans and then the contractor does something different. In this case, with only a partial excuse for one aspect out of several in the back and no excuse, I think, in the front. And so we said, where's the architect who's supposed to be watching this? We were told there's no architect on this project. Where's the owner? Well, the owner is paying the contractor. So there's not a huge difference between what a huge visual or other difference between what was approved by LPC and what these guys did. But there's also no excuse for what they did, other than a limited excuse, as I said, in one out of maybe 6 or 8 different changes. So that's why I voted no.
So, I'll agree with that point. I think, we've seen a couple of times now these instances where people come to us and ask for forgiveness and not permission. And I think, I understand the committee likely would have proceeded with these changes as they were currently built, but I do wonder if it gets us into a bad habit as a community board and as a community where people know that we are, sort of soft on this issue and they're just going to continue to ignore us. And so, I personally would be voting no on this for that reason. I think we have to take a stand. I understand that's an encumbrance to contractors and architects and building owners, and I can understand that, but I also think they have a responsibility, just like any organization has a responsibility to do what they say they're going to do. So for those reasons, I think that we should sort of start to draw a line in the sand and vote no.
Can we go to Kevin?
So, yeah, I think that by
Can't hear you.
approving something, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yeah, I think we're setting a bad precedent here. I don't think that our board should be approving something that did not go through the proper protocols for the work being done, and then now they want us to prove it. I think it sets a bad precedent, and it just sends the wrong message to the community. So I will be voting no against this resolution as well.
I just have a point of information. Do we recall offhand when we voted on the last measure that's contiguous with this one? If we don't, no worries, but I thought maybe, is it on the, forgive me if I should have seen it.
In February.
It was February. Oh, so it was
Yeah, we voted it as a full board in March.
March. Thank you. Okay, that threw me off. Thank you very much, Adam. And thank you.
Okay. The mic down.
Yeah, I don't disagree that it's somewhat offensive to approve projects where the applicants have deviated from the submitted plans and approvals by LPC, and we've dealt with this issue forever. And the pragmatic fact is simply that LPC takes the position that when these applications are presented, they approve or disapprove them as if they were first-time applications. And there are obviously many practical reasons for that. They're not going to tear down the building or start from scratch, et cetera. And in this particular case, as Clary has said, the deviations from the original plans were minimal, really minimal, in terms of a couple of inches wider on the window frames, et cetera. But the basic design was the same. So the pragmatic effect is that if we disapprove on the grounds that we don't like to approve situations of this kind, our findings will frankly be ignored at LPC. So I suggest that we do what LPC does, treat it as if it were a first-time application. The design is appropriate, and I think we should approve.
Yeah, I just have one question. If we don't approve it, is there a fine that they encounter? Like, what's the consequence if we don't approve?
Our role is only advisory. LPC has the ability to fine people for unpermitted conditions. I don't know in this case if LPC has or has not sent out enforcement folks. Our committee is obviously always open to hear from members of the community who see unpermitted work going on, and we're happy to bring that up to LPC and make sure that enforcement officials go look at it. In this case, there was nothing to us reported before the application came before us.
I think Jay answered my question, but I would say that if an applicant, prior to them being an applicant here, did work that was not legal at their own risk, and they did something that was egregiously inappropriate for the district, then we should disapprove. And if it has to be redone or it costs them a tremendous amount of money, that it would be completely their fault. But at this moment in static time, there's nothing else they can do but come here. And so if it's de minimis and basically we would have approved it now, I would say that's okay. So given that there's nothing, I think, offensive to the committee, then I'd be inclined to approve it. But I do like to associate myself with some of the other comments made that we don't want to set a bad precedent. We do want applicants coming here and asking us, and I think we're a pretty reasonable board when they do come.
This is, it's, for me at least, it's also difficult to hear. So I'm trying to weigh this. I do take serious attention when there are members of the committee who have questions, especially about how changes occurred and the confusion and that seemed to occur and the dissatisfaction. However, there are those on the committee who seem to say it's okay because we didn't hear from the community. I think that's what I understood. However, at this time, I will vote no and would like to see some remedies made as those who were concerned about it. Thank you.
Just to clarify there, I think one of the reasons that we didn't hear anything from the community about this is because the work that was done is very close to what was permitted. So as Jay outlined, the changes were very minor. I think there have been situations where the work that has been done has been very different. And then our committee and LPC would say, no, you have to change this work. But in this case, the difference between what was permitted and what was actually done on the front of the building was very, very similar. And that's why I think we didn't hear from anyone saying that. So again, my inclination is that voting no on this does not send a message to not do unpermitted work. If that's what we want to do, then we can do a better job of keeping track of job sites and making sure that things are happening and ask LPC to focus on our neighborhood for enforcement. I will just flag if we do that, there's going to be lots of things where they are going to enforce something that everyone in the community is basically happy with, but is in unpermitted condition. It's particularly around things like signage. So there's a double-edged sword to going to LPC and saying, our neighborhood is having a lot of work that we don't want to happen. We want you to investigate everything, because they're going to find a lot of homeowners and folks who have made small innocuous changes that they didn't get properly permitted. And then it's going to create a lot of problems for our neighborhood. So just want to balance that. Always happy to discuss it at our preservation committee hearings. Does anyone have, yes, one more or more?
Thanks, Adam. I live around the corner from this building, and one thing that influenced my vote in committee is that this building's been an eyesore for decades and decades and decades. Yes, it's not perfect. Yes, the procedure was not perfectly followed. We spoke to the owner about it. But I think overall, the community benefits from the work that was done. So I'm going to vote yes.
Someone want to call the question?
Call the question.
Okay.
Voting is open.
Everyone is welcome to our meeting this Thursday. No legalization of unpermitted work on the agenda, but we got sidewalk canopies, we got signage, we got another rear yard extension, we got all the hits. So feel free to come this Thursday at the community board office and get your preservation fill.
That was fantastic. Okay.
Last 30 seconds to get your votes in, please.
And then Councilmember Brewer, if you want to come up, we'll be going to you next.
Okay, we will, before Councilmember Brewer speaks, we'll stop the vote here. Final vote carries 34-4-1-0. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Happy New Year. A couple of things. First of all, the Switzerland. And I think that probably New York City does not have sparklers going to the roof or to the curtains, and doesn't have lack of fire retardant, but I still get nervous. So I did write to the two agencies, fire and buildings, asking them for their input as to whether or not this is an issue in New York City, and I thought you might want to consider that in our area, just to be sure we do not have any of those problems. In terms of the West Park Presbyterian Church, the Lighthouse Chapel wanted to stay as a church on Sunday, but they were not allowed to. So the building's now empty. We have contacted the buildings department to be sure that nothing is torn out of that building. And at the end of January, I'm guessing, there will be an LPC decision. That's all I know. I have no idea exactly on the time, but that's the story with the West Park Presbyterian Church. We've been working on 81st and Columbus. I think some of the lights are out there. That's where the new ADA elevator is going in. And there's a lot of concern from the neighborhood about pedestrian safety right there. We have a new chancellor for education in the city of New York. Some of you know how exciting it is to have Kamar Samuels, who's our local superintendent, now is chancellor of the city of New York. I'm going from here to the school board meeting, and the temporary superintendent is Dr. Reginald Higgins, who is, I know well, who's from PS 125 in Harlem. I don't know the status long-term, but he is there now. On March 23rd at John Jay College, we're going to have a town hall meeting. We've done it every year. We will invite the new commissioners, hopefully the mayor, and talk about some of the issues in the neighborhood. And we will keep you up to date and certainly involve everybody on the community board. I think we all know that young people outgrow their books. And so at Sunday, January 25th at JCC, we have a huge 6,000 books last year in terms of children. People have already dropped off over 1,000 books in my office today. So people are very excited to get rid of their books. The expense and capital applications for funding are now open. They opened yesterday. So either if you have community board, community groups that want to apply, or you have some ideas, please apply, but also let Cynthia Hornig in my office know how we can be helpful. I was taking the bus down Columbus the other day. You may have seen this. I saw SMOKE on every single block. It was graffiti. It was on the book, on the MTA. It was on the garbage pails, and it was on every building. And to the credit of the Department of Sanitation, they came the next morning at my request and they got rid of every single SMOKE. I don't even know what the hell it stands for except for smoke. But it really was awful. So just so you know, thank you, Department of Sanitation, from the bottom of my heart. One of the huge problems on 72nd Street, on both sides on Broadway, there is a halal truck on the east side and there's a popcorn truck on the west side. They're both illegal. They're not supposed to be there. They're sitting in locations that are not supposed to be constantly parked in. So I have complained, but it's an interesting problem. Apparently, you pay the tickets and nobody does anything, as long as you pay the tickets. Well, if it's illegal, you should not be there. So just so you know, as we talk about vending, it's mostly about the carts, but we also have to talk about the trucks. So I'm focused on that. There's also an encampment, 1, 2, 3, on Broadway between 75th and 76th Street. I can't tell you how many times they've been moved. I cannot tell you, at least 4 or 5, and they come right back within an hour. So it's partly the scaffolding, I assume, although I've tried to get rid of that, and it's just, these individuals are challenging. So all I can tell you is that we're trying very, very hard. In the last session of the City Council, which was the 18th of December, we passed 4 bills, one about housing, one about finance and notifying condo boards if the department is selling a tax lien on the premises. Another one, which I think is a good idea, but it's very strange. Wars Island, some of you have been there. It's right next to Randall's Island. A lot of open land. It does have shelters. It does have the fire department. It does have a wastewater treatment plant, but it's got a whole lot of space, just like Roosevelt Island did when Ed Lowe took over from Welfare Island. So why not have a discussion? Could we have affordable housing on that island? And that bill passed. And then one that those in the press love. Some years ago, in 23, the police department began transitioning all department radio communications to encrypted channels. We just undid that. So if you are a press, you have a legitimate press pass, your channel will no longer be encrypted and you can understand if there's some incident going on that you should know about. And then we did some resolutions also. As you know, tomorrow, the city council speaker will be elected. I assume that it will be Julie Menin. She has lots of great ideas. And then, just so you know, the last newsletter, I want to mention, I have copies over there. If you don't get our newsletter, you should. If you don't know what it is, it's on the table. But in the last edition, we asked readers to submit ideas as to what they wanted Mayor-elect Mamdani to consider. And boy, did they send us a long list. So I gave him a copy, and then I also put it in the next newsletter. He liked it, sort of. I met with him recently, and it was very interesting, because what's he going to talk to Gail Brewer about? First topic, Gail, what should I do about helicopters? I thought to myself, he definitely did his homework. And then the next one, what should I do about vacant storefronts? And then the next one, what should I do about graffiti? So I gave him what he should do about all these things. But more importantly, he's focused on quality of life, as I am. So I thought that was good that he figured out that I actually know something about the topic, and he should do something about the topic. Ongoing in our office, we have people doing SNAP benefits, working with the veterans, working with SCREET for the seniors, and of course, working on housing every single month. We are going to have somebody from immigration on a regular basis. All of these people come in either weekly or monthly, and I cannot tell you how helpful it is to our constituents, because the line is long to get the services, the quality is excellent, and I'm really pleased that people are taking advantage of these kinds of issues. Now, in terms of ABC, which is a big topic for you and for me, I am working on a real listing of why we have absolutely no stick in terms of zoning, and then I'm still going to stay focused on, I want affordable housing, 30%, just like an MIH on site, because I don't think poor people should be somewhere else and rich people at that location. So I'm going to work with this administration and with you, and we will try to make it work. Finally, happy Three Kings Day. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. And we will be going to parks now. I'm bringing up the presentation. Whoa.
I'll be presenting the Riverside Park playground reconstruction, a project that was funded by Council Member Gail Brewer's office. So thank you, Gail. This is a revised plan. It reflects revisions made after Parks received significant community feedback on the design that was presented to CB7 last August. You can go to the next slide. So it's a bit of a busy schematic, but this is essentially the River Run Playground proposal. It's similar to the initial plan presented in August in the sense that it's going to preserve all the trees. Those are the green spots. The existing sandbox, which on the left side of the screen is going to be preserved. That was built, that was designed and built by local artist Jerry Linus. And the public restroom on the right is also going to be preserved. It's not within scope of the project, but it is going to be rendered ADA accessible in the platform outside. It's going to include a new toddler area, which are these tiny little areas in the lower left-hand corner, some fencing, water features, lighting, a whole bunch of different things. And it will also increase permeability. You can go to the next slide. This is the rendering of the park, the revised plan. It's updated based on the community feedback from the initial plan, as I said, and it includes a few features that were missing from before. First is the return of the seesaw. It's now in a 4-seater configuration. I don't know if you can see it, but it's in the front. You'll see 2 seats on the left, 2 seats on the right. And so you can, each one of them can seat comfortably 4. There's another one just north of that, the play structure there. The swing set all the way into the back, and now we're facing east, all the way in the back along the edge has been expanded to include more bucket seats. Again, that is based on direct feedback from the community. The play structures have also been updated to include more climbing elements and just more accessible items from the initial plan.
for both the 5 to 12 and the 2 to 5 age groups. And finally, most importantly, the restoration of the runnel, which is the shallow water channel that runs the length of the playground that you see in the middle of this rendering, that has also been returned. So this is the new proposal. One update since the December 15th meeting is that the Parks Department has confirmed that the granite place markers along the runnel with the Hudson Valley Place names will also be reinstalled. So that's also good news. So after at the end of the meeting, the Parks Department was praised by both the committee members and community members for being incredibly responsive to the concerns raised since the August presentation. And the resolution approving the revised design passed. This revised design that you see in front of you passed in committee with a unanimous vote of 8 to 0 to 0 to 0. Happy to take questions.
Cool question. You know.
Okay, we have one question from Samantha.
Go ahead.
You're allowed to talk, Samantha.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Hi, Samantha.
Hi, my name's Heather. I was wondering, why can't you do like one section at a time of like the construction? Because, the park's gonna be closed for a while when you do the construction, and like, why can't people still play in the other sections of the park?
Heather, that's such a great question. We always ask the Parks Department this, and the reality is it's really difficult for them to, for example, excavate one portion of the park or change one portion of the park without closing the entire park. And I'm sure that they'll be able to speak to this more effectively than I can, but it's all based on process and also based on, you know, levels of safety. Closing the entire park and then kind of addressing the project itself is to them the most efficient way of getting this playground in place as quickly as possible. For them, it's going to take a year. It's going to take a year for the construction part.
Got it. Thank you.
Thank you, Heather.
Okay, voting is open. That's good.
Just 30 more seconds. If anyone has any issues voting, please let me know. Okay, last call. We are going to stop the vote. Final vote is 38-0-0-0 carries. Thank you.
Okay, we'll go to transportation now. Ken and Sophia.
Hello. Okay, we have 3 resolutions. I'm going to do the first. This is an oldie but a goodie. Trader Joe's, back for round 2. You may recall it was returned to committee so that we could get more community input. There were issues about pallets on the sidewalk, blocking the sidewalk, and also the issues with pallets next to the curb. We heard from members of the community. We incorporated provisions in the resolution, which we think are responsive to their issues. And we actually got a thank you email from one of the members. We approved a 100-foot loading zone, truck loading zone at the curb. Right now, it's just any kind of commercial vehicle can park there. which means that the Trader Joe's truck, which is the main user of that corner. By the way, there's a Trader Joe's at 93rd and Columbus, not the one at 72nd Street. So it rarely gets access to the curb now. And so there is double parking chronically. This should go a long way towards eliminating the double parking. I live around the corner and I've seen Columbus Avenue narrowed to one lane because of the double parking of the Trader Joe's truck. And then if somebody happens across the street to have to double park, then you've got one lane on Columbus. So any questions? Oh, the vote was 9-0 to 1.
Call the question.
Before we jump to any questions, comments from anyone? Okay, feel free to call the question. Okay.
Voting's up.
Okay, get your votes in.
Just 15 more seconds. Okay, vote carries 38-0-1-0.
Great. We'll take a brief pause from transportation and our new Manhattan Borough President is here.
Good to see everyone. I was going to say State Senator Brad Harman Siegel, but I'm not. And it's no longer gay bars to Zay bars. I need something that rhymes with Battery Park City. I'm kidding. Nothing rhymes with Battery Park City. Yeah, okay, there you go. But I just wanted to say hello. I mean, obviously, I'm following enormous footsteps in the form of Borough President Emeriti Gail Brewer. But I am determined to work very closely with our 12 community boards across the borough. And one of the things that I'm going to launch our new term with is a community convention on February 22nd at Lincoln Center. We're going to have a formal, well, rather ceremonial swearing in, but it's really going to be about taking the temperature of Manhattan. And we're organizing that now, so stay tuned. That's going to be on February 22nd at noon at Alice Tully Hall. So you won't have to travel far, West Siders. I was proud to attend Mayor Mondani's inauguration on New Year's. We froze our off. But I'm very hopeful and have been meeting his new appointees regularly. In fact, today I went to the new FDNY commissioners swearing in today. It's truly a new era in New York City, and we all should be proud and excited to be part of it. I wanted, of course, to acknowledge my colleagues. Sawaiba Shabazz is here and will continue. Where are you? There she is. And will continue as our CB7 liaison. Many of you know Esther Caroline, who was our liaison. She's with us still. So feel free, if you've got Esther's cell phone number or want to, reach out to her. She's always available. Our new director of community affairs will be Mariel Ali. Hopefully you'll be meeting her soon as the community board appointment process begins, which is going to start next week, believe it or not, when applications are going to go live. So we'll be keeping you informed about that. And then, we're going to be working on a few big issues right out of the gate. Quality of life will be a major component, along with, of course, our need, as always, to build more housing, but work closely with our community boards in the planning process. I firmly believe, as I know many of you do, that the best planning comes from the ground up. And that's what I'm committed to as your new Manhattan Borough President, and look forward to working closely with each and every one of you. Thank you very much. Happy New Year. Let's have a great, great year. Thank you so much.
Okay, and we'll go back to Ken.
To me.
Sophia.
Okay, so the next request is by Belnord Retail, asking DOT to relocate the city bike station that's located right by here. So south side of 87th Street between Broadway and Amsterdam. The thinking is that there's a retail location there. They want to put in a grocery store that's going to be getting 15 deliveries every day. So they really need this loading zone. And in our resolution, we're asking for DOT to look at alternative sites to put the city bike station, ideally within 1 block from there. And if I understand it correctly, we actually have a lawyer representing the tenants at Belnord here if they want to speak.
Good evening. My name is Gabrielle Esposito. I'm here from the law firm Schwartz, Slackus, Reich, Greenberg, Atlas, and I'm here on behalf of the Belnord Condominium, which is a landmark condominium on the Upper West Side that is home to hundreds of residents, many of whom are children and elderly. Also, I want to note one of those residents and a member of the board, Miles Horn, joins me here tonight and is seated right there. That's how important this issue is to these residents. The Belnord, as you may know, occupies an entire city block between Amsterdam and Broadway on the east and west, and West 87th and 86th Street on the north and south, with its entrance and exit on West 87th Street, which is pretty narrow. The resolution before you tonight comes at the urging of Belnord Retail, which is not owned by the condominium. Belnord Retail is the owner of the retail commercial space in the condominium. And the resolution at issue is intended to serve the interests of its prospective tenant to occupy space, mostly in the basement, that is presently vacant. And yes, the proposed tenant is a food store. The Belnord only learned of this proposed resolution for the first time without notice when it was presented to the Transportation Committee less than a month ago on December 9th. The Belnord was not provided with any information related to the resolution nor the opportunity to contest it. Despite the dramatic impact it will have on its residents, such as safety and security concerns for the children and elderly, congestion, interference with the entrance and exit, and the loss of the city bikes many residents in that building depend on. Because of these significant concerns, the Belnord opposes the installation of a truck loading zone on West 87th Street. If that opposition is not to be considered, then we ask the community board to impose certain parameters to mitigate the impact of the truck loading zone. Specifically, limitations on the hours of operation of the truck loading zone and the number of daily deliveries permitted. The resolution before you says, I don't know if you, I hope you do have it before you. The resolution before you says it is in support of a truck loading zone to accommodate approximately 15 deliveries per day, 15 at various times, but contains no parameters at all about the hours of operation. The graphic that the applicant supplied on the Transportation Committee during its meeting showed only a truck loading zone sign with no hours indicated. As you probably know, most truck loading zones on the Upper West Side have limits on hours of operation. For instance, when Avalon Bay sought approval from this board and the Department of Transportation for a truck loading zone to serve the Target in the new building on West 61st Street, my colleague appeared before this board, argued this issue, and this board approved reducing the hours from a requested start time of 4 a.m. to the hours of 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. And the DOT eventually approved hours of operation of 8 a.m. to 6 p.m., which are still presently in place. Avalon said its requested truck loading zone would be for approximately 16 deliveries per day, which is essentially the same as the proposal before you tonight. We ask that as a minimum, any resolution approving a truck loading zone expressly state that the hours of operation have not been suggested, debated, or approved, and that these details are for further resolution. This is consistent with the actual wording of the second paragraph of the proposed resolution. However, in principle, and looking solely at the number of children that commute to school from the Belnord in the morning and in the interest of their safety, we ask that the operation of the truck loading zone be limited to 9 a.m. to 3 p.m., and that the numbers of delivery be curtailed to prevent more congestion. Lastly, the Bell Nord requests a postponement of 30 days in order for them to meaningfully review the proposed resolution. We thank you for the opportunity to present here tonight and your time and consideration of their position. Happy New Year. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. I think we can make a friendly amendment to put that in there. Or does anyone have any other thoughts?
Well, I just want to clarify. So I'm putting on the screen now. So this resolution approves the relocation of the city bike station. And it says further be resolved that the DOT should present a proposal for where to relocate the station. So we're actually approving the truck loading zone, nor its hours of operation or anything. If potentially a good friendly amendment as suggested would be, and I'm sure Sophia would agree to this, would be to say any details about the truck loading zone should be presented in a new resolution to this board. So I think that could possibly address your kind of concerns about the details of the truck loading zone. But again, this one is just about relocating the city bike station. And we're not even saying you can relocate it. We're saying we approve the general relocation, but you have to present a plan about where it's being relocated to.
Yeah, we're still waiting on DOT to come back to us and then we would approve it. So tonight we're not making a final decision on whether or not the loading zone would be there.
But you're requesting, I understand it, not just a change or restrictions in the hours, but that we delay the approval of the loading zone for at least 30 days?
Indefinitely, but 30 days would be amazing.
So that why, so that so we get input from you?
I think so that they can, because imagine how everyone feels. The retail unit owner didn't say to the board, hey, we want to have Whole Foods come in and we want to put this truck loading zone in and West 87th Street is very narrow. So if a truck is there, how is anyone going to drive by? And when it's the truck loading zone would literally be where the entrance and exit is. How is that desirable, especially when there's a city bike station there that people use and rely on and honestly is in the best interest of the city when we're trying to fight congestion so aggressively?
Do you have suggestions as to where, I don't want to get into this too deeply, but where the loading zone should be?
So my clients suggest Amsterdam. They think that the loading zone should be there. I don't see any reason why it can't be. I understand that when the engineer presented at the Transportation Committee, he was concerned about that being a left turn lane, but it frankly makes so much more sense for it to be placed on Amsterdam than directly in front of a residential building, which I don't have the exact number, but there's 211 units. So figure we could be almost up to 600 people.
Mm-hmm.
We have some comments from members of the board, so I'm just going to grab the. And then just before we start very quickly, I just want to say if there's a friendly amendment, someone from the board should propose that friendly amendment just for.
I think it would be helpful for our consideration if you could explain a little bit about the relationship between the condominium and the retail facility, because I'm a little confused about, it's the same name but we have no understanding of what the legal relationship is, what authority you have over them and why you weren't notified.
Right. So in total fairness, I've taken a quick lesson on this exact situation because my colleague who was prepared to present tonight, his mother passed away sadly. So what I do know is that the retail unit owner does not need our approval or consent, and they did not notify us. And we've tried contacting them and they have not gotten back to us. I think it's pretty evident by them pushing for this to happen without notifying the condominium that they're not very concerned with the condominium, at least the residential board's input on this, right? Because how does it impact them? They don't have to live in the building. It's just another commercial space to come in and cause a bunch of congestion and traffic in an already crowded area. An area that's really family oriented and it shouldn't be in a situation where, you know, these kids are trying to get out to take the school bus or walk to school locally, and there's just massive 18-wheelers parked outside their building. How is that desirable? So we're also doing everything we can to pursue the retail unit owner, but that requires some responsiveness from them. And I think an additional 30 days would give us the opportunity to hound them down more about this and say, like, what are you doing? What's going on? But I can't make any promises that the 30 days will be fruitful if the retail owner refuses to cooperate. Why is it called the Belnord? I don't know. That's entirely up to them to create their LLC names as they see fit, but it is not owned by the condominium. But it's in the condominium.
It strikes me that there's a relationship issue and it strikes me as there's a relationship and a contract issue that is at work here that needs to be addressed, as well as whatever consideration we're going to provide on the public interest of this proposal.
I wish there was a contract issue because that probably would simplify this and make it a little bit easier. I'm a litigator by profession. I would prefer that. But I unfortunately, like, even the offering plan for the building, probably because when the sponsor created this offering plan for the condo, because remember, not everyone that lives in the building owns a unit. There are rent stabilized tenants in there who have lived there for 1 million years. See, here we go. So I think that it's hard because when this was set up in the offering plan, I think sponsor may have initially owned the commercial space. So the offering plan is set up to kind of give them some carte blanche authority that the residential board does not have the legal authority to override, which is why, like, we're here advocating on their behalf.
So sorry, we're just going to take just a couple of comments from board members just in a row, and then we can collect that all and then maybe reply once to it all.
Okay.
This building is a square that has, you know, Amsterdam, 87th, 86th, and Broadway. So the idea that there is going to be a loading dock somewhere on this for the store that's going in. So it's going to have to go somewhere on the building. So I don't really understand this idea that 87th is somehow like astronomically horrible, but Amsterdam would be fine. I think we all know there are lots of issues with Amsterdam. There's a protected bike lane there that you would have to cross. So I appreciate you coming this evening, but I think, as was just outlined, the resolution says nothing about approving the hours of a loading zone or something. It's just about relocating a city bike dock. So I think that it makes sense for us tonight to vote to say, yes, we would be okay if the city bike dock was relocated, depending on where it was relocated. And then if there is something about a truck loading zone to replace this dock, it will come back to the committee, and we have your contact information now and can inform you, and we can discuss what the hours are. But I think at this time, it's kind of insane to delay voting on a resolution that you haven't been able to point to any specific problems with it. So I would suggest that we vote on the relocation of the city bike dock, and then, you know, we can talk about truck loading zone hours another time. But I mean, you know, I understand that some people may not want a grocery store going there. Other people might be very excited about a grocery store.
May I just briefly?
Sorry, Matt, we'll just give us a moment and then we'll. Jim, did you still want to go or no? I got you.
Okay, so just a few clarifying statements. I, in full disclosure, I work in commercial real estate. I have nothing to do with this transaction whatsoever. It is a fact that the retail condo is completely separately owned, obviously, from your client. And by the way, there's no surprise and there's no criticism. This happens to be Extel, Gary Barnett, who came to us, and they were reluctantly to disclose that it was them. Again, nothing negative about who they are as an owner. The fact is that I've actually seen the space and toured it. This is the former PC Richards space. And so the main entrance for the customers would be on Broadway, presumably. The loading dock for this space, as was with PC Richards, is on that northern part of Amsterdam Avenue. I think one of the concerns that we all had as a committee was that you have a loading dock there for CVS, you have trucks there, you also have a bike lane. And so that corner, and I think we even discussed internally, it's a tight block there. So we do have our concerns. I personally am happy to have more grocery stores in the neighborhood, and I would offer one positive thing to your client is that typically where you have a good grocery store, sometimes the property value actually increases. So I hope it would be convenient for your client. But this is, even though this is of a grand scale, I think this is nothing different than what we do on our BCI committee and really just enforce a good neighbor policy. So I would be very much in favor of approving the resolution as it is, but making sure that, and by the way, one other thing, there is a little semantics here, difference between a loading dock and a loading zone. Right, the loading dock or the loading area is the entrance into the building. The loading zone would be the part of the city street, right? So I would be in favor of making sure that DOT comes to us with any proposed, and the applicant comes to us where the zone is, including those hours. You just saw the previous application for her Trader Joe's. That is an issue, an ongoing issue that we just approved. So anyway, I would go with a friendly amendment to implore transportation, anyone else to come back to us.
Hi, yeah, so coming back to the topic of specifically moving the city bikes, I was looking at where the other city bike locations are. And it looks like if you ignore this one, there's a city bike location on further up on 90th in Amsterdam, and then one that's on 84th. So just if they moved it up to 88th or 86th, like I think then that would still be within a reasonable range for people who are using the bike stations. Again, I agree that the topic of the loading zone should be a separate conversation. So I would be open to that friendly amendment as well. But just in terms of questions people had about where other city bikes are located.
Both the permission for a loading zone and the location of the city bike installation are within the purview of the city. They're going to decide both. They're going to decide whether they should exist and where they should be located. The Belnord condominium will have no say over either. A condominium, unlike a co-op, the units are individually owned, including the retail space. And as somebody pointed out, the original plan probably, I don't know if the space is owned by Extel or who it is, but it's individually owned by somebody who has the right to open whatever kind of commercial establishment they want, and they have the right to individually deal with the city on the location. What I suggest, I think your point about the hours is a very valid and important one. We just dealt with it with Trader Joe's, and it should come back for consideration. We might play with the language a little bit to indicate definitely that those issues will come back, that we are only, if we approve it, approving relocation of the city bike installation, contemplating the possibility that there may be an approved loading zone by the city. We can play with the language a little bit, but I think we should do that in principle to assure, and that will give you the opportunity to come back to the committee and further consider what reasonable hours are. For example, I think the hours you propose are probably not adequate, but a later starting time in light of children's school traffic and so forth might be relevant. But all of this should definitely come back to committee.
Okay.
Okay, I'll make another attempt to get some folks to agree with me tonight. I had a few the last two times. At first, it seems innocuous and procedurally sensible to say, okay, all we're doing tonight is saying, let's look at moving the bike lane. And we're not, and I don't mean bike lane, I mean the bike docking station. And we're not addressing whether there should be a loading zone, what it's at, where it should be, or what its hours should be. We'll do that another time. But I think that it's disingenuous to separate those two things and to act on essentially saying to DOT tonight, hey, let's take a look at move this loading zone, because it kind of puts an advance imprimatur on the idea that, no, I'm sorry, to say to DOT tonight, let's look into moving the bike docking station, because that puts a sort of advance imprimatur on the idea that the loading zone should be at this location. So at the one hand, we're saying, well, we're not talking about the loading zone. On the other hand, we're saying, let's make room for this loading zone and look into moving this docking station. So my question for Ken and his colleague, his new colleague, sorry about that, Sophia, is whether there's any real reason why this, as the speaker asked, requests, this whole thing can't be sort of rethought in the next 30 days with more time for them to participate, more time to investigate on the part of the committee, whether this really is the right location for the loading zone. Everybody agrees, I think Amsterdam isn't great either, but you got to put it maybe you don't have to put it somewhere, but presumably you do. And whether you really need to be talking about moving the bike docking station or whether that turns out to be a non-issue. So is there a reason this whole thing can't be put off for 30 days to the next meeting?
Would either of you like to respond before I keep going?
I think we were told there was a time issue by the applicant. Because I think he led us to believe that the tenant would possibly back out or not, this was contingent on the tenant taking the lease. So.
Apart from all the concerns expressed, and many of which I'm very sympathetic to regarding the loading zone, it seems to me to be asked to move a bike lane somewhere without any information about where it's going makes no sense. So I don't see a particular reason to proceed because we have information that there's perhaps a possible reason why a tenant might object.
So yeah, sorry, go ahead.
But it just, we only have half of the story about the bike stations. We don't have the destination that has been agreed to, and DOT could come back to us next month with that information, and it would be a perfectly valid separate piece of work that we could approve.
Yeah, the resolution solely asking for DOT to come back to us with those locations, and we have to still approve the location.
So, yeah, I mean, to answer the question, like the reason is because the applicant said to us, right, they have a time sensitive, a person who's interested in renting the space to say where the loading zone would be, where the actual city bike would be moved. All of these items will be a huge amount of work, potentially for naught, and take a long time. So the question is simply like, are you open to the moving of the city bike? And so we're saying, yes, we're open to the idea of moving the city bike. And then all the other things, if it actually came to pass, would come. They would say where the city bike should be moved. They should see where a loading zone should be, what the hours of the loading zone should be. All of these different things would have to come back. But again, the request was like, we would like to move quickly on this one question. So that's why we're doing it.
We have one more member of the public who I'm going to ask to speak first, and then we'll come back to you eventually. Don't worry. But he's going to share your microphone. So if you just
Sure. Stand right here real quick. Peter Arnson, I was some history. The Bell Nord was given permission years ago at the community board to evict or eliminate small businesses that were on Amsterdam, that had windows that opened and doors that opened onto Amsterdam. They were eliminated in favor of a large corporation coming in there. This was done with the approval of the community board if those windows were kept lively and open to the street. That has not been done. This applicant has a history of not being community-minded. And there is a need for them to, I would like to see them pay restitution for taking away the vibrancy of Amsterdam Avenue between 86th Street and 87th Street by allowing those windows to be closed, the small businesses to be taken out. I don't think I would trust them to do much. So I'm coming up before you without having considered what I'm saying, because I didn't realize that this was going to be coming up tonight. But I'm throwing it out there and I'll see where it lands.
So just,
Yeah, Doug is.
so we know who the current owner is of the condo. We don't necessarily, and I do remember that there were smaller storefronts on Amsterdam, but I believe it may have been a different owner at the time.
Policies are hard to
It was
figure out.
HFC? Even back then. And listen, and one other thing that, you know, we were talking about, we also are trying to fill store vacancy, and this is a big one.
So
I just
before
want
we,
to say, before we go back to the thing, Doug had made a friendly amendment, which I tried to capture. I don't know if Sophia or Ken, if this is what you're saying, but the DOT must return to seek approval of the creation of loading zone, hours of operation of loading zone, and location of loading zone. Is that accurately correct? Okay, is that acceptable? Okay.
one second.
Oh, no. You want-
So, yeah, so before we go back, Jay has one more comment, but before we go, anyone else on the board who has not commented yet? And then we'll go with Jay and then we'll come back to you. Last call. Okay, so.
Yeah, I can't quite believe I'm saying this, but by dealing even conditionally with the issue of approving the concept of moving the city bike installation, part of the message is that the proximity of the city bike installation is something positive that the board wants to maintain. And even dealing with it with all of these conditions now, rather than putting it off, sends the message that in consideration of the establishment of a loading zone, this board wants to make sure that there's a city bike installation in proximity to where it is now.
So I think that's it for comments. If you just want to make one last statement and then we'll.
I just want to clarify that this square, where they're talking about the truck loading zone is in right squarely in front and between the entrance and exit to the building. So it's not in front of the commercial space, it's in front of the residential entrance and exit into and out of the building, this truck loading zone. So while I hear what you said about Amsterdam Avenue on that side already has the commercial spaces. And to piggyback off what she said, it all just steamrolls from here. If we approve it at one level, it just keeps advancing. So anyways, thank you all for your time, and the Belnord and I appreciate your consideration.
Okay.
Call the question.
What's
Sorry.
As amended,
As amended, right? Are we?
Yes, as amended, but
I'll just, yeah, so the two be it resolved and further resolved remain as they were. So the first one is approves the relocation of the city bike location. You know, where the DOT will come back to us on potential alternate locations, and then be it resolved that, you know, proposal for relocating must come back to us. And then it says the DOT must return to seek approval of the creation of a loading zone, hours of operation of the loading zone, and location of the loading zone.
We have just one other friendly amendment relating to the proximity of moving the city bike dock. Right now it says we want it ideally existing station. The friendly amendment would be to say comma with it for a site on the same block, because there's lots of space on that block. And this city bike station gets 170 uses a day.
Okay, so within one block of the existing location, comma,
With a strong preference for a site on the same block, and return to the committee with proposed locations.
okay, okay.
Got it?
Question has been called. Okay.
Voting is open. Just another 30 seconds and then we'll close this vote.
So we have two ineligible for cause, and I'm sure someone will ask, but does the people ineligible want to briefly state why they're ineligible? That's Howard from the board, and he lives in the Bell Nord, so he's ineligible.
I can state that I've been told.
And then Richard Ash,
by the
also
New
ineligible.
York Ethics Commission, that I have a conflict of interest for anything involving Nextel.
Great, thank you.
Okay, so we are going to stop the vote here. The vote carries 31-6-1-2 and 31-6-1-2. Thank you.
Okay, well, going back to Ken and Sophia, and FYI, there's quite a few people signed up to speak. I'm happy to call people whenever you tell me to.
Okay, so this is the third item. It's a request by the Astor Condominium, which is at 235 West 75th Street, for a no parking zone in front of their entrance. The Astor has 100 units in it, several hundred people in the building. They get a lot of deliveries. They get a lot of people, a lot of elderly residents needing curb access, children needing curb access, and there are issues with double parking, with blocking of 75th Street, sometimes backed up onto Broadway. The entrance to this building is about 50 feet from Broadway. It's on the northwest corner of Broadway and 75th. I want to turn things over to VJ. I'm going to butcher your last name, Brahmamasam, who is representing the condo association.
Thank you guys for hearing from us. Oh, sorry. Thank you guys for hearing from us tonight. So the quick background is the Astor is located on 75th and Broadway. This is the same intersection that has Cinderella, Fairway, and the Beacon. So as you can imagine, it's a pretty busy intersection. And what makes us unique are sort of three things. One, because we're 4 to 5 car lengths from the entrance to our building is 4 to 5 car lengths from Broadway. You have a situation on Broadway where across from Fairway, you'll get double to triple parked cars. It reduces to 1 lane. People turn down 75th to try to get around the traffic. As it backs up, because we're only 4 to 5 car lengths, you then also back up the northbound side because they have that kind of like the median to turn across, and that causes backups. Even going on the northbound side causes honking and generally unpleasant noises. The second is that we have a high number of residents who are elder, I mean, we have a high number of residents, 100 units, and then the demographics of the residents we'll get into, but at 100 units, most of them being 2 or 3 bedroom units and larger units, it's a few hundred people living in the building. This, as they come home from work or from school and things like that, you tend to block this road a bunch. On the road itself, you have Citarella on that corner, people double park that, so now you can't even get around. You have people try to shoot in between there, between essentially 3-4 cars wide, and there's very little space. Someone try to shoot in between, and you have kids getting out of cars. It creates a real safety issue. So that's the third reason. And the fourth reason is we unfortunately have about an ambulance a month parked out in front of the building. When an ambulance comes, it just stops right there in the middle of the road. And now traffic is blocked. If it comes in the afternoon, we have a bus stop at the end of the street. The bus is now just sitting behind it. It's delaying the entire bus route. So I think that makes our building relatively unique. We've heard a few objections, and so I wanted to address those. First, it's a loss of 2 parking spots. We would say, I understand that it is making it easier for drivers to actually pass and keep congestion down on the intersection. So I think most drivers would actually benefit from us having this spot, having these 2 spots. We understand it inhibits overnight parking. I talked to Ken, and Ken had suggested that he could make a friendly amendment saying that maybe at like 10 p.m. we give it back. So that way people can still park overnight and most of the congestion is kind of gone at that point. So the safety issues, and obviously kids are probably not coming home at 10 p.m. The second thing we've heard is that DoorDash drivers may occupy the spot. And as they occupy that spot, we do have a doorman there, full-time doorman there. We can have him put cones out and make sure that the spot is used correctly, and help enforce it. So I think we can mitigate that concern. The final concern was that we have an entrance on 76th Street also. We're not going to come back for a no parking zone there. There's signage that already states that this is mainly just used for receiving for contractors to do work in the building. That side is alternate side parking. There's no parking zone or anything there at the moment. So this would be the only one for the building. Awesome. Thank you guys. Happy New Year's. Should I start calling them?
Yeah, start calling.
Alex, we also have a member of the Block Association here, Alan. So he's came on the list.
I'll call. We'll start with Daniel Arnold, I believe on Zoom, although if you're on Zoom, okay, great.
Lucky for you, I found my way down
All
to
right,
86th Street.
fantastic.
And thank you guys for hearing from us. I'm a resident of West 75th Street, and really interested in the fact that Community Board 7, the Transportation Committee, is invested in the idea of improving the quality of life on the Upper West Side. Actually, the folks who are my neighbors are really supportive of the idea of these loading zones, especially for the buildings where there are a number of residents. But I will tell you, I think this is the wrong place to put this particular loading zone for this specific building. It is 235 West 75th Street, but it's also 230 West 76th Street. The Astor is a large full block building. And I will tell you, there are 3 reasons why you should vote no tonight to vote yes in the future for this particular building having access to this quality of life amenity. The first thing I would tell you is that the entrance that they're asking you to cite this on is not ADA compliant or accessible. It has a step. The people who are specifically being serviced here actually can't get into the building. So elderly members have to step up. The ramp that's there is actually a bit of disability or accessibility theater. It's not actually accessible. And the accessible entrance is at 230 West 76th Street. So I would encourage you to kind of think about where you're actually attempting to site the amenity to service the people who are residents in the building. The second thing I would say is you should vote no on this because West 75th is a very unique block on the Upper West Side. I would posit that every single one of you at some point in any week or any month are on West 75th Street because of Citarella and Fairway. It is a center of feeding our community, and that's an important and frankly valuable part of what our block actually serves. It also means that Citarella, for about 50 days a year, has all of the paid parking on the south side of that block filled with trucks that bring us our holiday foods at important times of the year. Frankly, everyone who takes a taxi to come to Citarella or Fairway is generally turning onto West 75th to kind of disgorge into those stores. And I would say that we are an especially stressed block because of that on West 75th Street. The thing I would encourage you to think about is if you open a 2-car loading zone here, one of the things that we've seen since the pandemic is the increase in the number of people, especially elderly residents of the neighborhood, using DoorDash and delivery services from these things. We want to support that, but it's meant during the last 5 years, our block has become home to a lot of people who are constantly parking their cars or delivery scooters on our block. That's why we're seeing double parking in there. If you're thinking about solving that problem, not having a loading zone for the condo in that space would be ideal, but having the Department of Transportation bring us some options for where these delivery services can actually service our community more effectively. So I think that actually adding this loading zone is just going to add a number of delivery drivers who kind of park out there, even if the building's attempting to and I'm sorry for going on a little bit too long, to try and kind of move people along. The final thing I would say is there is a service entry on West 76th Street. Adding the loading zone for the building there has the benefit of adding a center of gravity for that building to be using West 76th Street instead of West 75th Street. The residents can easily load and unload on West 76th Street. It's a beautiful, fully accessible entrance to their building. The residents have keys and access there, doesn't need a doorman to be monitored. And frankly, once the building actually, after 10 years of having scaffolding up, removes it, is going to have a ton of parking added back to that particular area. So I'd encourage you guys to vote no tonight. Have the building come back with a West 76th Street option for you and vote yes then, because I think it'd be great. So
Thank you. Let's go to Paul. Paul Lieberman.
Yeah, I fully support, I'm in favor of putting access on 75th Street.
Okay. Yeah, we can hear you. Okay. The gentleman here, do you want to go next? Yes. And please announce your name.
Sure. My name is Alan Lauer. I'm the president of the condo board of the Astor. I'm also on the board of the 75th Street Block Association, Manhattan 75. We want to support this resolution. Our building has many young children who don't understand that they have to be careful exiting the cars, and there's cars trying to move around on either side. It's a hazard. We have elderly people who also have trouble. This week, there was an ambulance, an elderly person in our building expired. The ambulance had to block the road for an hour, 45 minutes. So this loading zone is important. To answer the previous speaker, the building is designed with the entrance on 75th Street, not 76th Street. It would have to change the whole architecture of the building to make the entrance on 76th Street. That's not the way it was designed. This will just make life easier for everybody. Fairway and Cinderella provide a tremendous amount of traffic, which is hazardous to the people coming out of the building. I would ask that you guys support this measure. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. And if you want to speak on this issue, please raise your hand on Zoom and we'll be promoting you. Andrea Pizzo. I think we have a bunch of people to promote. We'll promote those people now. I lost the promoting ability, so someone from the office will promote. Michelle Figdor, you can go first.
Thank you very much. This is Drew Figdor and Michelle Figdor. We fully support the proposal to add the no parking zone. As the previous speaker mentioned, there is no doorman or even a facility to house a doorman on the 76th Street side. And you have to enter through key fob or getting that buzzed in. It's not practical as a loading zone, unloading zone. And the ramp comment, I'm sure you can figure out a way to fix the ramp to make it better. There is a ramp to get into the 76th Street side. The double parking is a real issue. It's a unique spot in Manhattan. It has two major businesses with a lot of traffic and activity. And it starts at 5 a.m. in the morning with loading, unloading, and goes till midnight. So the ability for people to enter. I mean, if we're gonna drop off, we have to double park, and with the loading, unloading zone of Citarella being used and double parked, you're literally stopping the traffic flow of the business. So it's not credible. And really, it's about safety and improving the flow of traffic, because if there's a loading zone there for us, then we won't be double parked, and that would obviously be safer and and not block the traffic of the street. So thank you very much for your time.
Great. We'll go to Gaurav Nanda next. And if you could change your name on Zoom, if you're signed up with VJ's link, that would be great. But Gaurav, you're up next.
Hi, I'm a resident and homeowner in 235 West 75th Street. This is a very important issue for me and my family. We are in support of putting a loading zone in. As has been previously mentioned, the building is not built for an entrance on 76th Street. It is not the main entrance. The doorman, the concierge, the people who can help elderly people are all situated on 75th Street. Furthermore, the previous gentleman had mentioned the ramp was for show. I can personally say we use that ramp all the time for strollers, for our children. It is a very dangerous spot to load a car. That is particularly narrow street with double parking. To put someone into a car as we load our children into there has been increasingly dangerous. I don't completely understand the about the seamless drivers. We do have doormen who can monitor it, and their excellent staff who will happily monitor anything that goes on with seamless drivers. Most of them ride in on bikes and drop off the food downstairs and are gone within 30 seconds anyway. So it's usually because they don't come upstairs. Our doormen bring up the food themselves. So there's not a lot of traffic that should be sitting there for seamless drivers as well. We are in big support of this. I think it will improve the quality of life for everyone. As it previously mentioned, the entire street can be blocked when there's double parking over there, and it raises a lot of hazard to the children in the building. Thank you.
Thank you. We have quite a few other speakers, and so if you agree with most of what's been said already, feel free to speak for less time and say you agree. Let's go with Vera. You can unmute Vera.
Sorry, guys. Good evening, everyone. I fully support this proposal to add a no parking zone in front of the building because it will improve the safety, the living of condition of this intersection. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Erica Horowitz.
Hi, I'm Erica Horowitz. I'm an owner at the Astor, and I agree with all of my friends and neighbors here. It's a real safety issue, and certainly trying to unpack any of our own cars is incredibly challenging with all of the double parking and many drivers trying to zip by. So please vote in support. Thank you so much.
Great. We'll go to Kate Overby, and then this gentleman, you can prepare.
Sure. Hi, I'm also an owner in the Astor. I agree with all of my neighbors that have expressed their support of this proposal. I would also add, I have 2 young children. There are many children that actually get on and off the school bus right in front of our front door. And I think adding this additional zone would allow the bus to be able to pull over a little bit, allow the children to get on and off the bus safe and sound, without any, concern for their safety. So I appreciate everyone's time tonight.
Thank you. And please announce yourself.
Hi, my name is Vinay Gupta. I am the owner for last 8 years, and I fully support this proposal to add no parking zone in front of the building because it will improve the quality and the living conditions at this intersection. Thank you so much.
Great. Andrea or David Lucking or Jason Elric? Any of those, feel free to unmute. Or Ming Wang or Anika Agarwal. Basically, if you're here, yeah, go for it.
Hi, my name is Anika Agarwal. I'm also an owner in the building. Also have 2 small children, and agree with everything that's been said. Would be fully supportive of this proposal. I think it'll very much improve the safety of the neighborhood, particularly for families. So would really appreciate the support. Thank you.
Great. I think we called on everyone. If we didn't, please unmute yourself.
Hi, this is Tanya Baker. I'll be quick since you've heard from everyone. I also fully support this measure. We also have 3 children in the building, and having a no parking zone would just really greatly improve the safety and just general livability of the building. And I agree on the ramp points. We've used it many times, and although it's not perfect, it is more than functional, and the staff in the building is great at helping people in as necessary. So we are fully supportive, and we appreciate everyone's support.
Thank you. Misha?
Hi, nice to meet you. My name is Amisha. I'm also a resident in the building. Also in support of keeping the loading space. So as a mom of 2 young children, the space for us is really a safety issue. 75th Street runs westbound, while 76 runs eastbound. So for us, we're far more coming home from the east side. So we actually need to turn on to 75th. It's not at all really an option to circle around and come back to 76. So without the designated loading space on 75th, that forces us to short stop parking, which, as you've heard from many people, is unsafe and stressful. Seth?
Thank you. I think we've got everyone. Yeah, we can go to board members, but I think we have public comments done. So great, yes.
So just a quick comment from me. I think, generally support this. I know there's some differences in members of the public, but I think just something for the board to keep in mind for future issues. And I think we may have even talked about this at one point. Clearly, there is a public benefit, community benefit that residents feel for having a no parking zone and probably in all blocks. And so I think as we're considering these issues in the future, I feel like there was something that came to the board recently where there was a proposal to have one like in every block or something like that. Clearly there's a community benefit. So I think keep this in mind. We've talked about the number of people who drive in this community, the number of cars, the disproportion. So I think it's really worthwhile. I would say vote yes. I understand there's differences in where we want this to be, but at the end of the day, I think it's a good thing. So that's it.
Thank you. I would just ask, what makes this building unique to every other building on the Upper West Side? And really, I don't know what it is. And so I think that we're establishing a bad precedent here. If we give this building a loading zone, and then the next building comes, and then the next building, and then the next building, and we're already losing tons of parking spaces as it is for various reasons. And the more loading zones we have, the less parking we have. So it's a no-win situation for somebody, but the reality is every building has children, every building has senior citizens, every building has people that live there, that have cars, that drop off their stuff. This building is not more special or less special than any other building. They're all the same.
I just wanted to second what Michael said about that it probably would be a good thing if we have more loading zones in our community, because there are children in every building, there are elderly people in every building who do need access to the curb. And I think it's a great idea, and I'm in favor of this particular zone based on the testimony of or the statements of the people who have spoken today. And I think it would be a good thing if we had more applications like this. Thanks.
I agree with Josh next to me here. There's no building in New York that doesn't have children, and there's no building that would not love a loading zone in front. But this building really suffers the same things that we have on almost every single city block where there are shops and stores. There's certainly many of them lining Broadway.
You can go.
I'm not sure if I understand. I agree that the curb space is a rival resource where there's many different uses for it. And we had a previous resolution that tried to establish certain buildings of a certain size, right? We didn't end up passing that resolution. But there are definitely big differences between a brownstone that has 2 people and a building like this that has over 100 people in this area. So, yes, there are common problems, but it seems very clear that this building has made a very convincing case for why they, and maybe similar buildings of their size, and maybe that's your point, would benefit from this. So yeah, I'll vote yes on this resolution.
Can I ask quickly for a reminder about what the last resolution was, at the threshold for,
The last resolution, I'll go for it.
because I have the same concerns. I raised my 3 children without a loading zone and no doorman, right across from the 2-0 precinct, and never am able to park ever. And also a doorman building, and parking and driving is a privilege. Also, a private school bus that comes up to the front of your home is a privilege. Many of the public school buses park on the corner on major thoroughfares like Columbus Avenue, Amsterdam Avenue, Broadway, where there is no luxury of a greeting by a doorman. But I would like to understand specifically, I don't have the information about what the last resolution was, if there's a threshold for the size of the building where we would ask for a loading zone.
I think you're talking about the resolution that we had where the upshot of it was that we voted overwhelmingly to prioritize safety at the curb over any other use.
Sure.
And you've heard tonight, a lot of people, pretty much everybody talked about safety as being a consideration. We did have an attempt to set a threshold of 50, a building with 50 or more units. And we would sort of give our seal of approval to that automatically, and that was voted down. It was actually voted down because so many people abstained. And actually, the yeses outnumbered the noes, but the abstentions sank it. So basically, the board is asking us to do this on a case-by-case basis. And so that's what we're doing. I'll just take this opportunity to say that it seems to me this is a especially compelling case. This is double the units of the 50 that we were considering before. We have to start moving. If we're going to unclog our streets, we have to move away from our rigid adherence to just one use of the curb. And this is we have to do things like this. And if it's case by case, then we're going to have to do that. Call the question? Okay.
Yeah, I won't repeat what Josh said, but I agree with him completely. We have a history on this board because this is not the first time that apartments have come to this board seeking this relief. And the board has taken the position over the years that if one apartment building is entitled to it, as Josh said, we all have the same characteristics. Excuse me. We all have the same characteristics in our apartment buildings. We all have elderly people, children, et cetera, et cetera. So if one building is entitled to it, pretty much every building is entitled to it. And I'll give you an even better example. On West End Avenue, where I live, the Department of Transportation, in its infinite wisdom years ago, eliminated one of the traffic lanes. So every time somebody has to drop off somebody or pick up somebody or unload a vehicle, they block the single driving lane. As a driver, occasionally, when I open the door into what's going on West End Avenue, means every car coming in your direction has to make sure that they clear your vehicle, clear your door while it's opening. I would love to have free space in front of my building, and I would suggest we just do it for every single building on West End Avenue, every single building on Riverside Drive, every single building. Take away all the driving lanes and take away all the.
We can take that up at our next committee meeting.
That's what Ken would like.
Okay. A couple more comments and then I think we'll.
Yeah, I think one comment I want to make is something that's unique about our neighborhood is I think last I checked, less than 30% of us have cars in the Upper West Side. No, it's not 2%, it's 30%, less than 30%.
Let's keep going. Let's keep going.
Yeah, 1/4 is less than 30%, guys. But yeah, so like less than 30% of our community has cars. So I think it's important that we have these kinds of parking spots open for people to use because we have a little reduced number of people driving on the streets as it is, and have allowing for people to safely unload their vehicles, bring their kids inside, drop things off. I think that's really helpful and really valuable. So I'm totally on board with, if certain buildings have a large number of residents, allowing for them to have these kinds of parking spots. But I do think it's important that we consider these on a case-by-case basis rather than automatically saying yes, because there might be considerations about where those parking spots exist or like which streets they're on. So I'm going to vote yes on this resolution. I'm voting yes.
This one.
Hi, I have a clarifying question. So when we take away parking spots from your neighborhood, we have 1, 2, 3 public schools that service the community at large. The teachers, the custodians, the food personnel, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. They generally park on the street. So we can absolutely do this, right? So, but we have a group of people that don't live in our neighborhood that come and support our children, our families, our community. And when we take away these parking spots, then what we're doing is we're creating a mitigating circumstance for people that come into our community to provide service. So has there been a provision for that in this proposal at all? And that's for the Transportation Committee. Thank you.
Well, there are schools set aside a certain number of spots for their teachers. There are also 12,000 free parking spaces on the Upper West Side.
Manhattan Day School.
You have a bunch of folks that are coming to our community.
Wait, I didn't get the question. What is it?
She's in, are there 1,200 spots in that?
No, but on that one particular block, I think there are, I think there are 50 spots on just that one block.
Yeah.
They're all free.
Yeah, I mean-
They're almost all free. And I don't know whether anybody interested in knowing what the average, or the median income of people on the Upper West Side who commute by car, according to the Census Bureau, $205,000.
All right, let's keep going.
Yeah, I just have a minor comment. It's not a question and doesn't require a response, but to sort of add on to what Lottie said, a lot of first responders who work here, doctors, nurses, doormen, firemen, they all drive into our neighborhood. So to say that less than 30% or less than a quarter of the residents here own cars, it's kind of a misleading statistic, because the actual people who require cars to come in, I have a doorman who actually drives in every day from Pennsylvania for some reason. And the only way he can do it is actually by driving in. So without casting any judgment on anyone for their car ownership or not, I just wish people wouldn't say things like less than 30%, less than 25%, because the reality is slightly skewed.
So I would propose, and I will propose when we return to transportation, that we consider developing some sort of application process for loading zones, as we have for some other things, for example, co-namings of streets, so that we don't have to, every single time we have a full board meeting, have a long drawn-out conversation about the relative benefits of cars or car-free streets and the relative benefits of a loading zone in front of a particular building, et cetera, et cetera. I think we can come up with a reasonable application process for buildings to use and bring to our committee so that the full board can then consider the application that we've already had before us. I know Jay agrees with me because he's so excited about what I'm saying. So I've already got one person on
All
my.
right. Should we call the question?
We have, Ira's account.
Last for Ira, and then we.
Okay, I think this board has heard enough different circumstances where we've talked enough about parking. Let's stop talking about parking. We talked about parking on Central Park West. We talked about parking on 108th Street. We talked about, there are three of us here who suffered that for years. And I think there are at least 15 of us or 20 of us who've suffered this for almost as many years. So let's stop talking about who the parking's for, whatnot. That's a separate question. What we're being asked here is loading zones. And once again, which buildings get loading zones, which buildings don't? And if you got 200 people, 200 apartments, you get 4 loading zones. You can see, and then the argument is going to be in each building, who gets that loading zone? I'm going away to my 16-bedroom house in the Hamptons. I've got to get my 2 cars in the loading zone before I leave. Okay, this is what we're talking about, because most people, as noted in this neighborhood, don't have cars and aren't constantly loading them. And those of us who have cars aren't constantly loading them. And a bus doesn't fit in a 2-car loading zone. Anybody seen a school bus lately? They're big. They're bigger than most cars. They're bigger than 2 cars. So let's get back to the reality. Barbara's right, Josh is right, Jay's right, and you know, if there are extenuating circumstances, that's great. I've argued before this board for loading zones, but I've done it on a school block where we had hundreds of elderly seniors who had medical problems, and that was a very different and very specific circumstance. High-end co-op buildings, you can have your car brought to you. There are services that do that. So enough, let's.
Okay.
I just want to point out, this is not a benefit for the building. This is a benefit for the street and a benefit for anybody who drives and then anybody who's in an ambulance and wants to get to the hospital.
Let's call the question.
Yeah, it's.
I think
Alex, that's on you.
he's lowered his hand.
Question's been called. Voting is open.
Oh, you be comments. Yeah. Yeah. Wait, that's you. Yes. Okay, voting is open. Get the votes in. So it's currently 15-15-4-0. So we need everyone to vote and make sure they're voting. So it seems we have 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 13 people who have not voted. So this is an important one to make sure that you have voted. It's currently 17-16-5-0, and we still have a few people who have not voted yet. Please vote now. Let me see if I see people who are here. No, no one else who's here. So I think it does not carry. Oh, sorry. It's currently 18-16-5-0.
Point of information. You need a majority of yes votes in order for.
Yeah, we got that.
Parking spots tonight.
Okay, so I think we're going to stop voting here unless anyone has had an issue registering their vote, but the vote does not carry. It fails 18-17-5. With the reminder, we need a majority of yes votes above both no's and abstentions and ineligibles. So,
Okay,
so fails.
let's go to the last, which is BCI.
Okay, hi, everyone. I'm going to be quite quick with a few items that are completely loading zone free. The first item was presented to us along with to the Transportation Committee in our meeting last month. It was a discussion and review regarding the 2026 street festivals. There is one single producer for all 11 street fairs that are scheduled for this coming year. The name of the producer is Clearview Productions, and they've been doing this for a few decades. They are very experienced and very well known to the board. They've proven to be a good operator. The 11 specific street fairs, their dates, and their exact locations are specified within the resolution. And the first one starts on the 5th of April, and the last one will be on the 25th of October. So one thing I didn't know about these street fairs is that 20% of net revenue generated by each street fair is donated back to community-based organizations within CB7. I think that's quite remarkable and commendable. And it's actually exclusively a CB7 rule, community board, a rule for our district. It doesn't really apply to any other districts in the city. So the vote for this was unanimous. The only one caveat was that for the street fairs that are to be held on June 7th and on October 11th, there will be a conflict with Open Streets, which is held on the southbound Columbus Avenue. And what we have recommended in our resolution is that the DOT, the Columbus Avenue bid, strongly reconsider having their open street events on these two dates, June 7th and October 11th. So are there any questions?
Can I just ask, I just may have missed it. Are you bundling both things, or you're just doing the street resolutions right now? Just so I know how to organize.
No, this is number, I don't know, I guess this is
It's just the street festivals. It's listed as number 2, but you're doing.
just the street festivals. So if there are no questions or comments, we can call the question.
Hey, Howard, come on up. Sorry.
Just a point of clarification. Do you mean to say that 80% of the revenues, 80% of the profits go to the operators and 20% go to the organizations?
Of the net revenue.
Okay.
Should we call the question?
Well, the question.
I just want to make a point
Yeah.
for the future, just for the future, we have to reconsider this 20%. Since we vote on their application, to force them to give us 20% is kind of not.
Us.
What? No, to give it to, I know, to give it to another organization when they are a not-for-profit who needs money, it's always been odd, and I think it should be reconsidered, not tonight, but in the future.
Voting is open.
That was. See what's the variation, see if the clock says that doesn't even exist. You will bring that up.
Okay, just another 30 seconds or so, and we will finish this vote. Okay, so we will stop the vote here. It is 32-4-1-0 carries. You can go to the next one.
So I would recommend that the next three items be bundled together. They are new applications to the State Liquor Authority. They are 44 West 63rd Street, also known as Empire Rooftop, 210 West 78th Street, Wu's Dynasty, 410 Amsterdam Avenue, which is Saperavi Georgian Eatery and Bar. Each applicant came or their lawyer came and presented to us. Each application was kind of plain vanilla and it was all unanimously approved. Are there any questions?
Voting is open. Okay, we're going to close this one pretty quick, because I think a couple people have left us early. So we will stop the vote here. Final vote carries 35-0-0-0.
And the final item is a class change for 286 Columbus Avenue, known as Sushi Masu. They are asking for a spirits license in addition to the beer and wine license that they already have. This was also approved unanimously. Should we call the question? Yeah.
Okay, now voting is left.
Thank you.
Okay, we'll stop this one in a second here as well. Looks like it carries again 33-0-0-0. Thank you.
New business.
I think there's something very important that we can't do anything about tonight, but we should do something before our next meeting. We have a new HPD commissioner, Dina Levy, who is very experienced and probably very sympathetic to our concerns, especially on the Bloomingdale 100th Street overdevelopment project, which instead of listening to our concerns of getting the RFP to us so we could comment on it and so on, went ahead and did it without our concern, and not really consulting the Park West Village, Frederick Douglass houses, or the many Wisfish buildings in the area. They rushed to it, maybe because there's going to be a new administration. Well, since there is a new administration, I think we should approach quickly Dina Levy and say we'd like HPD to be in charge here. We'd like affordable housing to be a major piece of this.
Great. I think I see Seema nodding her head, so I think she's in agreement and we'll work on that. Next new business.
As a new board member, this is, I guess, my first real exposure to the debate around loading zones and the parking versus the interests of the tenants conflict. And I must say that I think Jamie made an excellent point about having some kind of application. I would propose going a step further, and that there really should be some kind of board-wide policy so that we have, rather than just doing this ad hoc every time someone comes, to have standards for justifying having a loading zone in front of a residential building. And I think that would save a lot of time and effort and consternation in these, at the full boards meetings, because that will be settled at committee to sort of say, do they meet the criteria we as a board have set out? And I think would streamline the process and make it much more fair. So my question, Alex, is how do we formalize that?
Yeah, I mean, an effort very similar to what you described happened, but did not succeed. But it is a good thing that we can bring up again at the next transportation meeting to discuss.
Yeah, we have actually tried that. It was about it was pre-pandemic, I think. I mean, as you see, this board is not inclined, even if the case is really compelling, to give anybody no parking space or to relinquish free parking. I'm very happy to try it again. I think you're right. It would be great to have a policy, but right now it seems the policy is, the status quo.
Let's not debate it now. Let's debate it in the next.
Yeah, this is for
presentation meeting.
new business,
Okay, business, anything?
Okay. Yes.
Just quickly, the DOT currently has an application process for loading zones. And before we do anything further, I'm not familiar with whether or not they have particular standards, but perhaps our co-chairs for transportation can find out what they do their evaluations on, and we can even see if it's necessary for us to come up with a set of standards.
Okay. Any last new business? Yes, Lottie? If it's about the parking, we gotta talk about the next transportation.
No, I'm just gonna say that I think that moving forward, new business, when folks come with these types of applications, that we check in with DOT to make sure that they didn't fill out an application, get denied in at DOT. In addition to requesting, and I had told Doug this, requesting videos, because I'm sure that there's not an ambulance there every day,
Right.
25 days of the month,
All right.
blocking traffic.
We'll discuss it at next transportation. Thank you. Motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn?